Hello and welcome to another jungle video. This one, another edition in our top junglers series because, well, despite it being early in season 9, the meta has shifted multiple times already, with Riot touching the jungle, the champions, items, and so we've reached a stage where we've actually got quite an interesting meta and a lot of diversity available to you in the jungle, and so we're going to break down some of the best champions you can use to climb in solo queue or just to have fun with and win a bit more. Now, as per usual, this is not a cut and dry tier list, so if you are having success with a niche pick you like to play, maybe Ornn jungle like me or something even more ridiculous, but if you're struggling to get wins and you want something a bit more stronger that you can use to have a bit more impact, feel free to try one of these champions, and let me know in the comments what champion you are having success with at the moment in the jungle. I always like to see the diversity of picks we have in the viewer base. And with that said, we start on page 1. And if you don't mind a bit more of a boring playstyle, the jungle with the biggest impact, no doubt, at this point in the game is Jarvan. Damage, tank, engage, objective taking, unique starting routes that he can take I've covered in the recent videos. His total kit is just so powerful at the moment. You have all the options available to you. He does those level 2 ganks really well still. And in addition, if your team is having trouble in team fights, maybe you don't finish the game but early, you have incredible ultimate and lockdown. He's really just the total package, and his pick rate is actually higher than Lee Sin's at the moment, which should say something considering Lee Sin is always nearly at the top of that particular stat. And now with those changes to Rek'Sai, about, well, I don't know, 6 or so weeks ago, she has been at the top of the tier lists, and despite direct nerfs to her as well as Conqueror, she still sits very much as a top tier pick, specifically in the high elo. I feel like her mid MMR levels of power have decreased slightly because you do need to know, it's back to usual, right? You need to know how to close the games, you need to have a lot of ganks early, you're not looking to AFK farm, and in elos where it's difficult to close out and maybe you don't really know how to do that, and exert that map presence, then she's not as innately strong as she was a few weeks ago, just as a byproduct of her numbers being too high. Now, I want to mention Hecarim, and his win rate and usage rate has gone up this patch, or last patch as well, and that's because he got buffs in 9.4 and 9.6, and before that I made a video about how someone got rank 1 in NA using Hecarim, you know, before all these touches and popularity. So if you want to look at Hecarim playstyles, that's a good video for you to look at. However, his power levels are increasing, people are figuring out how to use those buffs to the maximum, and you might think I've placed him a little bit too high, but go look at what the best junglers are playing. Hecarim's popularity is increasing every day and his win rate is still very good. Keep an eye on him. And on that note, my favorite champion, Master Yi. Hello, yes, new Wits End, Conqueror, absolutely absurd scaling, not even that weak early game. Yeah, if you're looking for some wins and you have someone you can duel with that likes to play Lulu, if you are that kind of despicable player, I said it, then go ahead and pick up Master Yi. Watch high elo players, you will see a big difference between high elo Yis and low elo Yis, and if you can apply, you know, those high elo principles to your Master Yi play, then not only are you a late game powerhouse, you also have impact in the early and mid game, and basically that's GG with your objective control and just chase down potential for days. And now while there are more popular tanks, people are seeing Ivern, people like to play Rammus, Sejuani is still okay. Nunu, again, buffs to Cinder Hulk, they're going to impact him very nicely, and his win rate is creeping slightly up again. Aftershock changes, maybe buffs will be coming in also in the next patch, so I think as a very versatile tank for any particular MMR range, less so higher up just because of his predictability. He's definitely one of those very literal snowballing champions whereby not only can you avoid all vision by having some of the most powerful lane ganks in the game, you also give that supportive nature to carries, and in a meta where Vayne is very strong, Yasuo is very strong, well, Nunu is very great if you have a duo queue, or even if you just see someone in your team that's good with their champion, camp their lane, support them. And with so much CC, once you get ahead, you can peel, engage, and your ultimate is such a great zoning tool. And naturally, we don't even mention it now, but his Q Consume, basically a built-in smite, will secure you all those dragons and heralds and barons that you desire. And now at the bottom of this list, there is a bit of bleed over, and I will talk about it when we get to the next page, Vi. They changed her kit quite abruptly actually. She was reaching a very decent stage of power before they implemented those changes about 2 patches ago, and nonetheless it didn't really seem to impact her win rate. In fact, it climbed a little bit. Take Aftershock, go damage, get some survivability items if you need, lockdown ultimate. She's just Jarvan light, maybe a little better in a fist fight, but definitely a very strong and I still think slightly underrated pick for solo queue. I used Vi way back in the day to get out of bronze, it was end of season 3 I think. So If you are in low elo and you want something that can guarantee you dragons, win you skirmishes, and basically annihilate the enemy Yi or ADC with your ultimate, Vi's a good champion for you. And I do want to mention Udyr, however. Now, normally I speak very briefly about him, and this will be kind of brief as well, but you can look at this incredible footage of Challenger mains. Now, his overall 1v1 skirmishing power is probably unmatched, and his speed and annoyance, and he's actually a lot more sticky than people. He just does everything more than you think he's going to do it. And that leads to people not only underestimating him, but taking him for granted when he's actually a very strong champion and has had a very high win rate for a long period of time. Now he's gaining a bit of notice and people are picking him up a bit more. Now when challenger players are using Udyr with good success, you know he's got a bit more power than his simple kit might suggest. So definitely a champion to pick up and use if you want to climb at the moment. Make sure you are being hyperactive. Now next up, Kha'Zix. He isn't overall higher than a lot of champions in this group and the next page. However, his power curve, if you get a nice beginning, if you understand how to use that assassin game style, is still extremely strong. His win rate is down, his pick rate is still good, but if executed properly, he still has a lot of impact, which is why he was the focus of my Dominate earlier video I just did. So be sure to look at that if you are looking for a bit more Kha'Zix application. I'm not gonna say anything about Kai'Thas other than, despite nerfs, he is still used often in high elo, he's used in pro play. His effectiveness in low MMRs has gone down for sure just because it needs a bit more micromanaging after the health loss based on the Q nerfs. But all that said, you know, execute well and you can get yourself some free wins. And if you hate his ultimate, maybe think about playing Kindred. Kindred now is getting a lot of attention in high elo, specifically by professional players. They are being used in professional play as well. So the fact that they're the best jungle marksmen, the fact that they scale nicely, and the fact that they're dueling early is quite strong versus very heavily melee champions. If you have lane priority, if you are doing unique clears like we talked about in the advanced pathing video, it's a very easy way to pick up quick stacks, quick early kills, and when you start getting ahead as Kindred, as someone who spammed Kindred in Season 6 when they were very strong, it is an absolute nightmare to deal with for most matchups. And to close up this page quickly, Rammus again, still a very spiky ball of tankiness. Still got free taunt in an ADC meta. Still beats Urgot. You know, he's pretty simple to play. Fast ganks. You can be susceptible early game to stronger junglers who can push you off from trying to get your team rolling. I swear these puns are just happening by accident. Anyway, not really the best AP jungler considering the Kai'Thas presence on this page. Evelynn is still around. It's not the best meta when there's a lot of peel and CC and tankiness. And I've got a lot of videos on my channel dedicated specifically to Evelynn and in Season 9. So not much more to say about her other than, please understand control wards, visions, and pathings, and you will be unseen for the entire game, and you'll tilt the whole enemy team to banning her in the next lobby. Now before people start raging at me for having Jax still on this list, go look at the win rates, go look at the statistics. Yes, he is a better top laner, but he's still Jax, he still has many eyes, and he still has a fiery lamppost. And if I need to say more, then, well, I can't help you. And as a tree you don't want to go near a fiery lamppost, and Ivern's a perfect person for you because he has a shield, he's got a ridiculous new skin, he's got Daisy, which is probably one of the most tilting things to chase you around on the map. And while as quickly as he was on the tip of the tongues of everyone a month ago talking about how Ivern is back after all these buffs he got, as soon as we say that, he's kind of diminished in popularity. His win rate's still good, his pick rate is back down a little bit, higher than it used to be. If you know how to counter jungle, if you know how to support lanes and use those Moby boots to the map's advantage, and even as a supportive champion, he's one of those that can actually carry by literally supporting, with his shield, with his long range Q. And because AFK farming literally isn't an option for him, it kind of forces you to change the way you think, and that's always good, and that can translate to other junglers you play. Now Kayn, he's on here because I think, basically, if I had to summarize him in a word, I'd say he's solid. Ras is still good. Shadow Assassin can be good in the right situation, can be more fun also. Ras is a better all-round pick. It's the same thing as always, he's there, he's a decent pickup, however with the strength of some of these early game junglers, Jarvan's, Rek'Sai's, and most notably the strength of Kindred, who is very difficult to face, games can be difficult to regain control of. However, because of his passive changes that we had, around the last video of top junglers, it really did increase his ability to get into the frame much sooner than before, and getting that early transformation is just so nice, and having more control over what transformation you want to get is also nice as well. But like Master Yi, don't fall into this AFK farm idea. Go gank, go skirmish, go counter jungle, in and out, get your form. You're not an AFK jungler, you are not nothing early game. You can do things, just stop thinking you can't. And now to finish off, we have your Lee Sin, Pantheon, and Elise. Lee Sin and Elise I'm not going to talk too much about, although you'll see some footage because they are the Season 3 forever meta junglers. You know, Elise better high elo. I'm going to tell you Lee Sin's better high elo too, but you're going to play him anyway, so you might as well keep going. Basically, the hands that wield them will dictate how impactful you can be with them. Whereas Pantheon is a bit of a sneaky guy, spicy baker with a spear. The thing is, you underestimate the amount of damage you can have with Pantheon in that level 2 to 3 gank phase where you're basically river Pantheon, gank, 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 take the scuttles. Don't underestimate your damage, it's kind of disturbing. And when you get a level or two ahead of the enemy jungler or anyone on the map, with your ultimate as a huge macro advantage to you, sort of like a better version of Nocturne in that sense, you can really close out games quickly, so know how to pressure and get tower plates with him, and know how to gank quite heavily. Now I know there are some junglers I haven't mentioned that are having strong waves, AP Shyvana, things like that, but here we're gonna have a page of honorable mentions. Just champions I think I need to talk about. Rengar, we always do. You need to get the concept of he's easy out of your mind. To play him optimally, you need to be good, you need to know how to navigate the meta, and you need to play in the most alpha sense. You have to exert your dominance on the map, on the enemy jungler. He's a mind game as much as he is a mechanical game. But as with all champions, depending on who is top tier, it can really affect how much you play. Look at Xin, I'm not even talking about him, but Jarvan 4 just counters him and does him better, so why play Xin? Even though you can, right? It just doesn't make him top tier anymore. And then we've got Taliyah. You've seen her in some of my recent videos. Some of the best junglers in the world on every server are picking her up again. Some mid laners also, in fact. Her full combo is obscene, and if you really want to put in time to understand how to use Taliyah in that way, go for it. Just, I don't recommend her if you're, you know, like maybe platinum below. It's just not worth the time. There's just way better things you could use to climb and learn the game and the jungle better. She really rewards aggressive knowledge and mechanical ability. Sejuani, I just don't want to talk about Sejuani anymore. She's probably good, you know, pro play. Solo queue win rate isn't that great, but Cinderhulk buffs, Aftershock buffs, you know. Right, can we buff other tanks, please? I don't want to see Zac or Sejuani in pro play, you know, for like at least 2 years. Nunu and Ivern and Rammus are much more interesting picks than Sejuani, but if, you know, you need a tank and you just want to win and you need a lockdown, pick her. Shaco, Shaco, well, in Europe I'd say Shaco, in America I think you guys say Shaco, whatever. The clown guy with funny boxes. I don't think he's in the best state overall. People who main him are still good with him. I wouldn't really recommend him in any universe at the moment. It's just worth noting he has a good win rate, in the right capable hands, with the right mind behind it. You can still do things. And Warwick, he isn't in the best state, but I still think he's in a solid state, and when you have the Cinderhulk buffs that helps his raw tanky build, which I do recommend to silver players, for the same reasons that Jax is good, and the same reason that Hecarim and Rammus and Udyr are good, when you can rotate around the map fast in low and mid MMRs to save fights, to change the course of the game, to quickly get towers and objectives, you will take control of more games and therefore get more wins as a byproduct. And Warwick has deceiving ability in terms of his sustain because of his E. His ultimate is a lockdown if you can make sure to nail it reliably, and he's sort of the champion I use if I really need to go for a win, and so I do recommend him. He's not too difficult to pick up and can let you focus on jungling. So even though he's not a top tier pick, don't sleep on the Wick. Wow, I'm terrible this video. I'm very sorry. Please still like it. Please still like it. And on that note, I do hope you enjoyed the video and learned a little bit about what makes the meta, and some new picks that you might not think about playing. Don't forget to let me know in the comments if you have something hidden you'd like to share with us, or not, if you wish to keep winning. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment despite my horrific puns and jokes. Subscribe for more League of Legends and jungle videos coming very soon. And puns and jokes, subscribe in the next tutorial.